Hey everybody, welcome to the Logan Power Show. It's me, your host, Calvin Logan, live here at Jehovah Tabernacle here in Charleston, South Carolina. Well, the change is coming. It's come now. I got with me four of some of the strongest men I've known in my lifetime, men that are making some strides year over year over year. So we're going to go out further ado. We're going down the line. First, go closest to my left. Man, he ran for Secretary of State. He was so close in winning, but we know 2022, you're getting back on it. The one on Mr. Melvin Whittenburg. What's going on, sir?
Thank you for bringing me back to the show.
Yes.
Happy to be here.
Yes, sir. So tell us, the momentum shift. First ever African American giving over 700,000 votes, very close, lost by just a couple percentages, put a lot of pressure on your opponent. What are you going to take from this experience moving forward in your life?
First, I have to give thanks to God and to the people because it was getting into the communities where I grew up from that made the difference. It took a lot of effort and weeks of work of going out and meeting those who are less who treated unfairly over the years. So reaching our people, because in South Carolina to win any election, it's going to take the black vote. So the goal was to get the black vote. We pushed it up so high before the election, we had 102,000 African Americans vote in early absentee ballot.
Wow.
It was like 27,000 was from North Charleston.
Wow.
So we did that by getting out to the communities, going down in the communities, meeting people where they come from. How it happened, because I grew up in the neighborhood. So that's what we did. And we look at this as a motivational step as, yeah, we got 724,000 votes. What really excites me about it is that yesterday I got a phone call. It was from a friend that was on business travel in the Caribbean. And in the Curacao, they said they were monitoring this black major. The whole track, because he was doing something they never seen happen. And it was successful. So if we were that successful moving forward, I look very excited about what the future holds. I don't know what God's going to do for me. It's like I look at the situations like Moses. Our people have been lost so long. God called me back out of corporate America, returned from the military, returned from ExxonMobil, to lead the people out of darkness. I may not get to the promised land, but you guys going to get in. Somebody's going to get in. And I'm determined to prove South Carolina is a blue state. And on election day, on a news station in Columbia, the Republicans said, we're not worried about Democrats beating us, because blacks don't vote. But we got 724,000 blacks, 724,000 voted for a black candidate. I'm looking to see that hit 1 million. We can do it.
Yes.
We can do it, and it's going to happen. And when it happens, it's not going to only happen in South Carolina. Gillum came this close in Florida, another black. Abrams came this close in Georgia, another black. It was one in Mississippi and one in Alabama. That tells you that the African Americans are beginning to wake up. We maybe didn't wake everybody up this time, but it's going to happen. But we can't take our foot off the pedal. We got to keep pressing forward, getting in the community, pushing hard for you to win city council, get an African American in the mayor's seat in North Charleston, because that pays dividends in the future for anybody else who wants to run for office at a state level or on a federal level. Everybody knows this is a hotbed. They know if the blacks vote, we can win. That's the reason why Cory Booker and Kamala Harris came to South Carolina, and several others. I appreciate everything everybody did, but the work is not over. We still got a long way to go. Like I said, Moses said the people was roaming for 40 years. We've been roaming a long time.
Yes, sir.
And change is gonna come.
Yes,
and it's only gonna come if we work together and stick together and don't forget where you come from.
Amen.
That's what
Good job.
Amen. 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 Now to my right, he is a activist, really through the Somerville area. They call him the Godfather of Somerville activity because he gets involved in all things in the Somerville area. He has his own community center. He has the voting bus. This gentleman fights for social rights and doesn't care who he goes against. The one, Mr. Lewis Smith. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing fine, sir. It was a pleasure being here and a pleasure being with this group of
Yes, sir.
people.
So, because you deal with a lot of things in Somerville, you have been really adamant about what's going on in our neighborhood, and especially in the Somerville area. What are some things that have really gotten you fired up that you want to see changed in the neighborhood? Look on the screen.
Well, actually, we're beginning to focus on we're beginning to focus on the whole issues in the Tri-County area right now, and that area is education. We have two major school districts here in the Low Country that is not working at all for the minority citizens. We can start with the Charleston County School District. We look at that as an archaic form of electing people to run it, in that it's an at-large system. But they say it's representative of different districts, but the whole county can vote for that particular person, or for a particular person. Now that means that somebody in Watermelon Island can vote for somebody in North Charleston, two distinctively different zones. And the infusion of monies that came into the campaign this last voting cycle has really, really hurt, I would say, the minority community. As we can see, has been chronicled in the last 3 months or so, the conditions of Charleston County school system is terrible. We've been trying to tell people that come June or this year, a lot of minority children are going to flunk. A lot. And we need to get this word out to everyone. But what they have tried to counteract that is by lowering the passing grade. And ReZsaun, you in the teaching system, of course you're an excellent teacher, but we're talking, they have lowered it to 60%, 60, and you can pass. I'm gonna tell you right now, if a kid of mine brought a 70 home, it would have been an argument. It would have been World War III. Can you imagine a kid of mine bringing a 60 home? I just can't imagine, but they're saying that passing. With given that, they're also saying that there's gonna be a lot of children flunking. So we have announcing this officially on the 30th of this month at the ILA, we are going to have enough is enough. We're getting a bunch of local activists together, and we're going throughout our communities and saying we are going to be there. We are going to tell them that we are tired of a third world education system in a first world country. And we are going to do this, and we're going to be fighting. We have a panel that's absolutely amazing. We're still developing that panel, but some of the people I know that's going to be on it is Damien right here, Damon.
Thank you.
He can bring the expertise and the knowledge, and we're still developing that panel. Now this is in Charleston County. In Dorchester County, Dorchester District 2, and I'll be real quick about this, in the last 6 voting cycles, the black candidate that was running for the school board has come in dead last. Let me say that again. The candidate that's been running for the school board in the last 6 election cycles has come in dead last, the minority candidate. In 2018, we have a school board that's 100%, may I repeat that, 100% white with approximately 30% black population in the school. Y'all, something has got to be changed, and this is not right with this picture at all. When we look at these figures and look at what's happening with our education, we have to say we want representation, especially in Dorchester County. We need people making the decisions that look like us in regards to that 30% of those children. I think the days of Jim Crow, the days of the white benevolence telling us what to do is over. And there is a change coming. There is a wave coming. And this wave is we are working on. Now, this is what we are working on in the near future. But our immediate goal is on the 30th. We're going to have this enough is enough. And then we're going to start the campaign with Dorchester District 2. And we've got some great legislators now that's going to work in this. And in Charleston County, it looks like we got a bipartisan support. And perhaps in Dorchester District 2, we may have that. But this is what we're beginning to fight. And we are going to fight hard, and we are going to fight to do this. We have to make the changes. We have to show people we are representing. And this is where the immediate battles we have.
Amen, amen. Get connected, get involved. To my far right, he's the historian, he's the professor, the doctor, Mr. Damon Fordham. How you doing, sir?
Very good, Gavin.
Glad to have you here. So you are now a professor at the Citadel. You are a historian, tour guide. What are some things you've seen right now when compared to 2018? South Carolina is now half the state down the bottom is turned into the blue. For the first time in a long time, we've seen some real changes. From history itself, what do we need to do to get us more involved when it comes to more African Americans, Latinos in voting?
First of all, a lot of that is due to historical circumstances that I hope to get into in the course of this discussion. And secondly, I talk to a lot of people who have no education or little at all, and just your average Joes in the street, because for a number of years I taught GED class in the Charleston County Jail, among other things. And a lot of them tell me flatly they are turned off from the voting process because they go there, people tell them just vote black and vote Democratic, and they open to go there not knowing who to vote for, who's on the tickets and so forth. So they're frustrated and a lot of them leave. You see, a lot of us just flatly went about this whole thing wrong, in all honesty, because Malcolm X, I think, said it best when we had the Voting Rights Act passed. He said we need voter education as opposed to, along with voter registration. Because what often happened was we were just told, okay, you go there, you vote Democratic, you vote, you vote for the black candidates and so forth. So that means that the candidates don't even have to work to get your vote. In essence, you just go ahead and violently vote them in. So that means one group takes you for granted and the other completely ignores you. What you ought to do if they played it smart was to hold off your support and make both of the parties work to get you to make that balance in the change. Because if we did it that way, you would have never had the current occupant in the White House or the Republican Party turning the way it did. Both would be fighting to get our vote in order to be the game changer in this. So I think we have to just basically work on really educating people along those lines to understand that we don't work for the candidates have to work to get us.
Mm-hmm. Got it. Amen. Amen. Yeah. So we getting involved. It's getting heated discussion. We're going to have some fun. I mean, everyone's going to be trying to talk. Down to my far left, he's not new to the game. He has his own talk show, Real Talk with ReZsaun Lewis. How you doing, sir?
You know what it is, bro. That's good. Everything's good. Thank you for having me.
Oh, man, definitely. So you are your show, Real Talk, you get really in depth when it came to quality education. You talked about what's going on administration wise. If it's in South Carolina, what's going on in the White House, the government. So because you have your own talk show, it's Real Talk, what are some things you've seen that we need to work on, or what's going on that people you think they're not really aware in this community?
First of all, I just want to, again, thank you so much for having me on the show, Calvin. You know, I have a vast amount of respect for what you do here and the discussions that you're trying to bring to the forefront. On Real Talk with ReZsaun, one of the things that I do try to focus on is voter education. Damon Fordham hit it nail on the head. We have to become educated about the political process. If we're not educated about the political process, it doesn't matter who we put on the campaign trail. It doesn't matter who's in those seats, because we're not going to make ourselves a part of the process. If we don't make ourselves a part of the process, then we will continue to be completely ignored. The fact that Republicans know that they can run by completely ignoring the African American community altogether, because one, half of us are not going to vote, and the ones who do vote pretty much just look and see who had the signs out that they saw, and they vote based on that. That cannot be our structure of voting. That's why shows like ours, like yours and mine, are so important, because we're bringing people into the tent who may not otherwise be. There are people who don't read. We like to believe that the whole world is reading these books. The world is not reading books for some reason. But people do get on social media. We have to use the platforms that we have to bring the people into the tent who are not normally there. So that when a Melvin Whittenburg does run for Secretary of State, they'll not only know that he's a black man, but also that he's a man who's worked in corporate America, a man who's worked in the military. Not just that he's a black man, that he's a man with integrity, that he's a man who has values and has a family. These are things that we have to understand. I'm even of the mindset that we have to get beyond the idea that we are black, so you should vote for us, period. You should vote for me because I stand for your interests. That's the bottom line. If we have the people understanding that I'm here for you. I'm not here but to upgrade myself or for people to know how awesome I am. I'm here because I see a problem, and I'm running because I believe I can solve that problem. Or I at least can bring the people into the tent who will be able to solve that problem. So Real Talk ReZsaun, that's what I'm all about, is starting that discussion and having that discussion from an objective point of view where people can have a substantive discussion about what's going on in the world, rather it be politics, sports, music, whatever it is. It doesn't matter, but we have to be educated in no matter what we're talking about.
Amen. Amen. So as you can see, we're cutting the cookie cutters is what we are. And I got 4 cookie cutters. They're cutting down these barriers that we're talking about. Now, Mr. Melvin Whittenburg, being that you were very transparent in your race that you ran, and you got a lot of Caucasian voters for you, you had Latinos voted for you, you had a heavy African American vote for you. You were a lot of people who talked about how they appreciate your military background. You were a well-qualified candidate. It wasn't like he's just an African American. They're saying he was a well-qualified candidate because he actually was right for the job. What are some things that we can look into, or when people say, okay, this person is African American, this person wants to run, what are some things that we need to do to make sure that we're putting the right person in the forefront? Because a lot of people say, oh man, I'm gonna run for this because, man, I feel this is the greatest thing to do, but they're not really qualified, or they feel like because I got a good social media base, I got some friends, I got some colleagues who appreciate me, so I know I'm gonna run. How can we speak to those individuals that are naive to the fact that you got to speak to everybody, not just one base?
Right.
Well, for me personally, and I always told people, I had a good education at East Carolina and Georgetown University. But regardless what profession we're in, I'm still a black guy. So whether it was corporate America, the military, education, whatever, we as a people have to be overqualified to be semi-equal, because we're never considered equal at nothing. And that's what I strive to educate people. So when someone comes to the table and run for an office, like a President Obama, we're extremely overqualified
Exactly.
for the job. But that's the only way we get the other side to listen, because of our qualifications. And a lot of times, for me, for instance, most people thought I was Republican. Because they'll look at your qualifications or your background and they say, oh, he's Republican. And I even had Republicans recruit me. Why are you running with them? We could do great things with you on this side, but my people are here. But regardless of party, Democrat or Republican, don't take us or our votes for granted. Because you got to remember, the Republican Party in South Carolina was started by a black man, Robert Smalls. And the reason it was started was because the Democratic Party did not want the black
Party of Lincoln.
So we have to understand that it doesn't matter what party we're with, don't take me for granted, because my one vote may be the one vote that makes you win or lose. So I tell everybody, what you strive on, educating. We have to be educated in voting, and that's a voter suppression situation. When I grew up in the school system, we had civic class. You take those things out. We don't see it as a people, why things happen, But the people in positions at that time, they said, well, if I take this out, then they won't have no knowledge of the importance of voting. Or if I keep them locked up in jail, then I suppress them for voting. Now, there's a whole lot of things happening, but the education is what we want to do, is turn our people around and wake them up, say, this is a wake-up call. We only in this situation because we've been manipulated or we've been given a little something to turn our back from looking back there, and that said, why should I take civic class? Why should I vote? Voting doesn't mean anything. $7.25 an hour is $4 an hour when you take deductions out of it. But we got to educate our people because they've been beat down so long. I go back to, like I said, lost in the wilderness for 40 years. Somebody gonna have to show them the light. We may not be the one to get there with you, but I'm determined to make sure you guys step up to the plate and get in the office.
Amen.
Excuse me,
Hey,
Kevin. May I interject something?
go ahead.
please? Okay. Now, you just hit on something important, but we also have to understand, too, and you said on looking back, how and why it got to be this way in the first place is extremely important in understanding all of this. Now, as Mr. Whittenburg mentioned here a few minutes ago, the Republican Party was started in South Carolina here by a black man by the name of Robert Smalls, who also, in the 1868 Constitution, put down the impetus for the public school system in South Carolina, a very little known fact. But the essence of it, and I'm going to give you the quick 3 to 4 minute version of it, is as follows. You see, after slavery ended and the Emancipation Proclamation, the 13th Amendment was passed, they had the Reconstruction era in South Carolina, a period that has been overlooked in most of our school books, okay? 76 black men and 48 white men went to what is now the federal courthouse over on Broad and East Bay Street to change the direction of South Carolina. They voted on such things as all men, regardless of race, had the right to vote over 21, a hospital system, and Robert Smalls came up with the public school system, okay? So, with that, the University of South Carolina was integrated for 4 years, 1873 to 1877. He had 2 black lieutenant governors, Alonzo Jacob Ransier and Richard Howell Gleaves. And so there was a progressive period through the South where you had a black governor of Louisiana, Pinckney Benton Stewart Pinchback, who started Southern University, right? Now, the reaction came in December 24th, 1865, Pulaski, Tennessee. They performed an organization based on the Greek word circle, which is kuklos, and the Scottish word for family, which is clan. So the Ku Klux Klan came, and for 12 years, the South was a bloodbath, all right? So the federal government said, we had enough of this. Tilden Hayes Compromise of 1877 ended that period and gave the power back to the Confederates who ran it in the first place. In South Carolina, Benjamin Ryan Tillman, who was the governor from 1890 to 1894 and became the senator from 1894 to 1918, he set up a constitution that would take away the rights that the 1868 Constitution gave us to begin with. And plus, he also instituted a system in which certain felonies that were committed mostly by African Americans would be used to disfranchise black people to take away the vote. Money was cut from the education system also. So you had a situation where the South is poor to begin with. So it took what little money it had, and for cheap political maneuvers, they wasted that little money on separate but equal to create a permanent class of cheap labor. And this is why you had such a low education around here to begin with, because it helped the rich stay rich and the poor stay poor. Then if you were black and you wanted to get a better education, to get a master's or a PhD, the state paid your way to leave South Carolina and go to the north to get that education. So with that way, those who had get up and go got up and went, and Stevie Wonder was left to lead Ray Charles down the street. That didn't stop until Harvey Gantt sued to get into Clemson in 1963. Right. So in order to understand how to get out of that situation, you cannot find the cure until you learn the cause.
Wow. I told y'all this is a story.
That's incredible. Oh my God. Hey, but can you talk about the 14th Amendment, please? Please talk about the 14th Amendment.
Oh, the 14th Amendment.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead. 14th.
Well, the 14th Amendment was placed in 1868 in order to make citizens of the newly freed slaves. It said that if you were born here, you were a citizen. That was all that was required. If you were born either here or in the territories outside of the then 48 states or so, if you were born in Guam, or later on when we had Guam and Puerto Rico and all the others, you were a citizen, right? So basically, it was when Martin Luther King and the locals, great Esau Jenkins, and your cousin, A.J. Whittenburg out of Greenville, among many others, fought. That was the impetus they used for the civil rights movement to say, look, the 14th Amendment says we are citizens, so therefore it says constitutionally we should be deserved to be treated as such. So very recently, a recent occupant of the White House has said that he wanted to get rid of it, but see, he can't do that unless you have 2/3 of the Senate, 2/3 of the House, and 2/3 of the states.
Amen. Amen. Well, I got you. So what we're gonna do is, I tell you right now, we're having a good time here at the Logan Power Show. Due to the, I guess, the strain of time, we're gonna have to piggyback this up. I know that I'm gonna get these gentlemen back into the building. So basically, I want you to stay tuned. We got more in store. I want you to know the value of power. Power of working together. Remember, it takes minds and us working as a team. One, hold each other's hand. Piggyback. Iron sharpens iron. This is an iron sharpens iron situation. I'm telling you, you're not going to find this in class. You ain't going to find this in the professor's class. But I want y'all to tune in. We'll be back with these people again on my panel. It's all the time I got. My name is Calvin, the Logan Power Show, nationwide, worldwide. We love you. We'll see you again soon.
Okay.